and direction on tobacco and alcohol retail cap. I requested for this item to be on the agenda, and I wanted it to have an opportunity to bring it to the council for discussion. For quite some time, it's been years, but this was never addressed, and I just wanted it to bring it to council. So within the city of Livingston, we have so many residents, but a concern from that I heard for the last few years is that we have more retail places that sell alcohol and tobacco than residents or cats, which that preoccupies me. So, but anyways, so there's other things that we have a cap on, like for so many, I wish that for this council to in a future meeting, in a future agenda, for us to look at considering a cap on the number of retail places where alcohol is sold and tobacco is sold, one or the other, or two different separate items. And so that is the reason why this is here. This is just a conversation and hopefully direction from council to staff to further look into, I could drive around and I could probably count more than 30 places that sell alcohol here in Livingston. And there are other bigger cities that don't have as many alcohol locations as we do here in Livingston. So that is the reason why this item is on the agenda. Council, what do you, questions, comments, suggestions?
So, Mr. Mayor, let me understand. What you're saying is you would like to see us put a limit on the number of, I'm sorry, I understand that you would like to come with something that says we're going to only allow so many liquor stores, or is that what you're looking for, or something to that effect?
Something based like when we have the taco trucks, there was 5,000 residents, one taco truck. Every time we have 5,000 more residents, then we can have another taco truck. If we have 20,000 and we have 20 retail places, it's like that looks like, right. Currently it would be an average of one retail store that sells alcohol for every 1,000. That's worse than tacos. We should have more taco trucks and less retail stores. But, so it would be a cap to consider. So if once we hit 20,000 or once we hit 25,000, then we can have so many retail stores selling alcohol. So it's just a conversation. I'm not, at this particular moment, I'm not saying this specifically to this and that, It's just
yes.
And also for us to look at what other communities have.
Yeah, I understand. But are you also looking to say somebody wants to open up a grocery store? Are you looking at beer and wine as liquor, or are you just looking at distilled spirits as liquor? Because beer is alcohol. So to open a grocery store, they're going to want to sell beer and maybe perhaps wine. So are you proposing that if each grocery? We're just having a conversation. I'm not, and they don't sell cigarettes at all, or they have to be behind a counter.
I'm not proposing anything specifically at this moment. I just want to be able to have the conversation.
I understand.
And then depending on what staff sees out there, or maybe what other cities have, and we can look at some ideas. And and I'm not saying next month, maybe in a month or so, or 2 months, to kind of give us some time to do our own research if we need to, but at least to start that conversation.
So you're asking for consensus for the staff to move forward and bring what other cities are doing? Is that what you're asking for?
Yes, I'm looking for a consensus and support from the council so we can give direction to staff to invest some time, because I know they have a lot of time in their hands.
Mayor? Mayor, I was going to add to your point, definitely worth exploring, but I would recommend to look at them separately and having tobacco separate from alcohol, and then we can split that even further into beer and spirits and liquor. But definitely worth exploring.
Council, Mr. Roth.
So
Yeah.
what you're asking is that you want our input on whether we should have a cap on businesses that want to come into Livingston and sell alcohol and tobacco, any type of retail. Is that what you're asking? You are asking us to put a cap on numbers of, because what exists here exists already. We can't change that unless these businesses go under. But this is what the town of Livingston has. Well, people coming in with their permits and applications for business in Livingston. This is what we've allowed, even with new businesses, excuse me, that are going to be coming in. We're going to have our gas stations, the truck stop. So we're looking at those, and they're not going to want to come because those are their sales. I mean, we're going to be turning away business. And so what you're saying also is that we're going to be looking at what other towns around us are doing. Tobacco's tobacco. It's going to kill us. Alcohol is a drug too. That is a drug. So, but other towns around us, so we're considering, putting a cap here, but we are not even allowing safer alternatives like cannabis, and we haven't even had that discussion. But that's beside the point here. But other businesses coming in, you want to put a cap on it. We're going to start turning away businesses.
That is, well, I'm not saying one thing or the other. That is the reason why I want to have this conversation, because if we don't have this before us, we're not going to be able to say anything really. I mean, we can just have this conversation back and forth, but we don't have any information. We don't have any staff report at this moment. So the only thing I'm requesting is if the majority of this council wishes to have this brought at a later date, then we can do that.
To me, my apologies, Mayor, go ahead.
Yes, no, go ahead.
To me, this is more about exploring best practices around us and see what we can adopt here, but by no means is my intention to hurt any kind of business that may come to Livingston, but definitely to explore and see where we stand.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to bring this back at a later date. There's a fine line there. I mean, if you got a company wanting to come in and do business with the city, I mean, that's really not the thing to do. But there's really no way around that. But yeah, I'd like to bring it back either way.
Mr. Lopez?
Thank you, Mayor. So the thing that I wanted to talk about here is more of a broader concept, which I think is really what the mayor is trying to get at is city manager takes direction from the body at a publicly noticed meeting. And so for the mayor to, let's say, hypothetically say, and he didn't do this, but let's say he were to come out and say, Christopher, I want you to draft an ordinance, develop this, and bring it forward to the council for adoption. Now I'm taking direction from one council member. So what the mayor is really bringing forward here to the council is, one, is this something that the council as a governing body would like an allocation of time from the city manager's office, police department staff, and is this a priority of the council, right? That's the first one. And then the second one are the things that the council may want to look at. So what I heard was, what are other cities doing? What are other ordinances that are there? So that's just an allocation of staff to say, hey, this is kind of what you can look at and what other cities are doing to look at these uses, tobacco, alcohol, fill in the blank. And just right off the bat, I mean, there's things like deemed approved ordinances to ensure that those individuals or those businesses that are selling alcohol or liquor are doing so in a manner that is promoting good, positive community relations. So from our perspective, you wouldn't or you shouldn't expect the staff to come back and say, we recommend X, Y, or Z. If the council does direct us to look at this, what we will do is bring forward these items that say, okay, well, these are deemed approved ordinances. This is what other cities are doing. Currently, you would want to know how many current businesses sell tobacco products or alcohol products. So we would provide kind of a information to the council, just data gathering, and then if the council chooses to give us direction after that, that's really what we would do after that. But that, I hope, provides some context as to what I think the mayor is trying to accomplish here, which I can really appreciate because it helps staff to identify the things and the clear direction as to what council is expecting from the staff.
Yes, exactly. And then in a way, it's kind of staying away from old practice from the past where one or two council members would direct staff to do something and spend numerous amount of hours in doing something that was never authorized by the majority of the council. So, and so the right, in my view, the right way to do it is to bring it to council. And this is expressing, a desire to bring this back and with staff report and more information, so we can have that discussion openly and not just one with staff or two with staff.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to go ahead and help build, if it's possible, to build consensus for staff to look at what other cities are doing and bring back as an information item as for now. We can check to see how they're limiting it, and if so, how they're getting around, the questions we about grocery stores or what, Yeah, I'm always willing to look at different things, of course, so I'm willing to say, we'll need somebody else to go ahead and direct staff to at least bring back as an information item.
Mr. Rott?
I agree with Councilmember Samra. I think more information would be better, and then we have something to look at down the road.
Chief, something to add?
Yeah, just yesterday, this may be all for naught, I received a letter from the alcohol beverage control from the state. They've taken notice to the number of alcohol licenses that are issued in the city of Livingston, and they're asking for the last 3 years of crime statistics. So they may be putting a limit on it themselves.
I can tell you that the ABC is currently looking not just at your jurisdiction, but other ones for oversaturation, because they do have saturation regs as far as how many are close to schools and how many are close to suburbs, and they do look at oversaturation, and they've been actively denying license applications just recently based on oversaturation. So I think they're doing a larger assessment as well.
Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and take this for public comment. Public comment on the phone in regards to this item. Here and now, I'm bringing this back to the chamber. Any public comment in the chamber? Can you please state your name?
Rodrigo Espinosa. Well, I kind of do agree. I know we've kind of discussed it in the past when I was here, but I think there is an oversaturation, and there's been talk about a tax on alcohol or tobacco in the past, which hasn't passed. But I think that, there's a lot of partying around here. I know that they can go anywhere and purchase it, but the more accessible, I think that there's too many quinceañeras, weddings, and summer's coming and the heat, and so the more that we can do to be safe for especially our youth, which tend to have a higher accident rate of DUIs. So anybody can happen, but more of the youth. So we just want to prevent that from, bad actions from happening. So that's all my comments. Thanks.
So as previous mayor and council member, you would have been one to have these businesses come before the city of Livingston and have them approved, hearing them at planning and then come before the council? So
there was groups that were reached out to us to pass a tax, but it never passed.
I wasn't talking about taxes, I'm talking about businesses that were allowed in Livingston, because right now you're stating that it would have been a good idea for us to put a cap on it, in which you were our previous mayor and city council member, where you had a hand in having those
I can't discuss that because, those are different times. There's different.
Alcohol hasn't changed the way people behave.
Yeah. Well, I know that you're trying to be a negative on my speech, but, no more comment. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Any other public comment in the chamber?
Council Mayor Leticia Vasquez speaking. I think it's a great idea to do the research because there's been long conversations and posts on social media around alcohol in our city or alcohol stores in our city. And I know that Councilmember Soto has been one of them that has been very vocal and has disagreed with how many stores we have downtown that serve or sell alcohol. I guess sell alcohol, not serve. So I think having the research and presenting it and I like it was stated, maybe we can't do anything about what happened in the past, but maybe we can do something moving forward. So I really like that idea, and I appreciate the transparency of asking for that in front of everyone, as opposed to emailing city attorneys to do the work without even being transparent. Thank you.
Any additional comments in the chamber? Bringing this back to a dais, and actually, just now I was just remembering that at one time, this or previous councils decided to also put a cap or not allow serving cantinas here in Livingston. Livingston used to have a lot of bars. And I know that there used to be a lot of people driving all the way to Livingston to come to the bars, and now, council at one time or another decided like no more, and now we don't have any more of those. So, so this previous councils have done other things, and I think this is just another opportunity to, once again, just to look at something like this. Look at staff reports and then continue with that conversation. Council, anything else?
So I hear what you're saying, and I also heard you say earlier that previous councils, you've said that, and lady over there mentioned previous council members not being transparent. So you did mention that there were council members that acted in the past by not just doing whatever they wanted. So you're saying, this will help with the past practices. So being transparent, who were those people?
Leo, is that something, it's...
You can come up to the lectern.
Excuse me. This is... So we need to have this conversation on the dais, and you and I can have further conversations in regards to this, but that would have nothing to do with this item.
You had brought it up. You said that to avoid past practices of past council members. But if you'd like to have the conversation in private and not be transparent about it, that's okay.
All right. Anything else, council? Staff, is that enough direction?
Yeah, I did get clear direction from at least 3 council members on this one. Mayor, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Moving forward, next.
Just city clerk would like to interject. from back in the back?
We're done with that item. We're done with that item.
Mr.
We're
Mayor,
moving-
I object to that. I don't believe the person spoke as a city clerk. I believe they spoke as a citizen. And for us to call somebody, a citizen, back on for their ability for under a freedom of speech and to say something, we shouldn't be calling them back up. And I think that's not right.
Well, that may have been out of turn, but I do believe that she is here for the sole purpose of taking minutes for our meeting, so she is actually
so,
on the
Mr.
call.
Mayor, I object. I think
We're not in court.
when you call for citizen comment, person can speak as a citizen regardless of the position.
Correct.
So I believe that person spoke as a citizen, not as a city clerk. Maybe taking notes as a city clerk, but can't switch out of that role into a public comment.
I appreciate what you've said, but I disagree. Many times I have been called out for, hey, I'm constantly wearing that hat as an elected, constantly wearing that hat regardless.
Okay, so we need to move forward. Next item, item number 9,